Today I wanted to shed a little more light on the poetry synthesizer company Microsonic. I have mentioned one of these devices before, the Shinse-koto or synthesizer Koto SK10. I think part of the reason there's some confusion around the device is all the different names it gets. You've got the SK10, Shinse-koto, there's also Akebono on the top, which is dawn. Then you've got the Microsonic up in the corner, and people think that that's the model number. Well, there's actually another Microsonic device. There's the HK80. That's the Hougaku-senka. That name meaning Japanese music specialty, or specialized in it. Today I want to chat about these two devices, and I also want to chat about how they're very similar to the ST100 from Suiko. So the history is where it gets interesting, fun, and a little dicey. Tracing this back, I found a reference from Tamori Club, which is a variety show in Japan. They've been around since 1982, and in 2015 they did a special on Hougaku-senka, which has been around since 1987. Now they went to go visit the company building of this journal that specialized in Japanese music. They got to walk through some of the old relics and cool things they had from the past and some of the things that they've covered in their journal. Now I couldn't find a copy of the variety show episode, but I did find a blog post going through what they went over in the episode. Lo and behold, one of the things in there was the Shinse-koto. There's an image showing the Shinse-koto from one of the articles that came out in April of 1990, so now I know where to look. So I found someone selling their entire collection of every article ever written by this journal for cheap, and I decided to go through all of them and look for ads relating to anything Microsonic. Too much? Probably. Don't care. What I found, and I'll pop it up on screen, is that in 1987 you can see some ads for the Hougaku-senka. These ads continue into 89, and in 89 we also get an article written about it. Now this article basically praises it for being first of its kind to try and teach people of the modern age about old instruments and keep traditions alive. It's also worth noting that in the ads there's sub-ads to get together and practice these devices with each other and have meetups for them. Whether this was popular, I have no clue. It might have just been 5 people in a room together, much like I'm speaking to 5 people who care about this. Then in 89, I start to see a shift. Now I start to see Shinse-koto ads and no longer their Hougaku-senka ones. This continues into 90 and 91. So what do we gain from this? In 87, we see the Hougaku-senka ads, which, great. If the journal starts in 87, we don't know when it started, but it's something. The switch over in 89 is interesting. I'm going to make the assertion that's definitely when the Shinse-koto came out and the Hougaku-senka became the old model. And then 91 rolls around and I'm not sure why we stopped seeing the ads. Maybe a loss in budget for marketing, maybe they stopped selling them. The other confounding factor here is the ST100, which looks eerily similar. Now in a previous documentary, I went over some of the Suiko devices and found out that the ST50 came out in 1990. This is the hard part. So I have a hard date for the ST50, but not necessarily the ST100. I'm pretty darn sure that it came out before the ST50. The question's when. Now, I'm no stranger to a knockoff, but these are so eerily similar with some slight feature changes that it almost seems like an OEM or potentially a company buyout. This could also just be some engineers that worked at one company that then go to another when another one collapses. If you had asked me before doing some research for this, I would have said, yeah, Suiko came out with the ST100, Microsonic copied it, cool. But then we get those articles in Hougaku-senka. They're saying first of its kind, congratulations, yay, so glad someone's doing this, right? That theoretically means that they were first to the scene. Unless, of course, they just did it bigger and better than Suiko, but then they disappeared into nothingness. One would assume that they'd be around for longer. So maybe they got bought out by Suiko after the fact? But then the timelines don't match up, right? Because we have the Shinse-koto coming out in 89. They wouldn't put that out and then immediately go turn around, get bought out, do the ST100 right before 1990 when they do the ST50, right? So given the weird timeline, and assuming Microsonic was more popular at the time, my best guess here is that they both licensed the same technology, OEM style, came out at around the same time, and then Microsonic eventually went bankrupt under whatever, whereas Suiko continued. These are the stupid questions that keep me up at night. So features. For the Hougaku-senka, there's a button which allows you to use a secondary technique for the device. For example, if the voice is a koto, it may allow a string scratching technique. The ST100 doesn't have this, though it does have mono poly switch, which is not on the other two. The ST100 also has a nice vibrato button. The Microsonic ones, though, have a fun joystick on the side which controls the pitch in one direction and strength of instrument hit in the other. The ST100 vibrato sounds good, though with practice you can make it sound much more natural on the Microsonic devices with slight pitch up and down. The Microsonic devices seemed more aimed at people trying to really recreate someone playing the instrument. The ST100, on the other hand, is a little more simple in the interface to get people just playing nice sounds. Now, aside from the features, the instruments used on the devices are also different. I'll throw up a list here and just name them off, but if you want a detailed explanation of what is on this and not on that, as well as what the instruments actually are, I have an entire video going over that, which I'll link in the description. For the Hougaku, we have koto, shamisen 1, 2, and 3, biwa, Chinese harp, shakuhachi, shinobu flute, no flute, hichiriki, shoal pipes, kokyu, pizzicato, horn, and percussion. For the Shinse-koto, we have a 13-string koto, a second one of those, 17-string koto, second one of those, Chinese harp, shamisen 1, 2, and 3, biwa, shakuhachi, shinobu flute, no flute, hichiriki, shoal pipes, kokyu, and drums. And then for the ST100, we have the 13-string koto, 17-string koto, Chinese harp, shamisen, pizzicato, glockenspiel, shakuhachi, shinobu flute, no flute, show pipes, kokyu, oboe, strings, horn, chorus, and drums. They're all great in their own ways. I do think there's specific pros and cons to each set. The ST100 feels a bit crisper and has cleaner notes, but that's both a pro and a con. That high attack and precision control can make it a little harder to use in a mix or an arrangement versus the Microsonic devices. They have a little bit lower quality samples, but they offer more control for the pitch, volume, attack. If that's more important to you, then the sound quality becomes more of a personal preference. To me, sample quality needs weight against genre effects post-processing. Past that, the conclusion is the Hougaku-senka is extremely rare, and they're cool.